to record now.
Yeah, okay. All right, we're good. Sorry to bother you, Ezgi. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Well, you know, Ezgi, she's been working with me for 3 years, and she's been a real game changer for us. Okay, all right, let's try this again. We are recording. Let me take a sip. January 19th and February 4th. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Williams, the director of CARMA, the Consortium for the Advancement of Research Methods and Analysis, now located at the Rawls College of Business at Texas Tech University. It is January 19th, and I'm happy to welcome you to a quick chat with our upcoming CARMA presenter, Elaine Hollensbe. Elaine, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
We're very excited to have Elaine as part of our short course instructor webcast presenter crew. Part of what we're going to chat about is her webcast that she will be giving in a couple of weeks on February the 4th. But Elaine, I'd just like to get to know you a little bit better first. So what was it early in your career that got your interest in qualitative research methods? And were there any kind of key experiences that shaped your view?
Sure. Well, going way back, I was the youngest of 6, I had 6 in my family. And so I did a lot of listening. As the youngest, I learned the value of listening and trying to understand perspectives and points of view of others more as a survival technique. But it turns out that's very important in qualitative research. And then I went to Iowa State for my undergraduate degree in journalism. And of course, many of the skill sets, interviewing and reporting are important to qualitative research. But I think the real turning point was in my MBA program when I took a class on active listening. And so we read work by Carl Rogers, who's a counseling psychologist. And I began to appreciate the good that can come from being non-judgmental and really trying to understand and give voice to others. And so when I started my PhD at the University of Kansas, I really knew I wanted to do qualitative research, but it was still very, very rare in business schools. So I helped my advisor with a consulting project involving the Episcopal Church. And that sent me on kind of an ethnographic journey where I visited with teams of priests across the United States. It was extremely fun immersing myself and trying to understand who these priests were and how they managed their identity. So I knew that was the path I wanted to take in my research career, and I've kind of been at it ever since. I did have the first qualitative dissertation in the business school at the University of Kansas, so that's a kind of a claim to fame as well.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting background from which to have those interests emerge. And clearly you've done really well at it. And that led you to have some editorial experiences. And I oftentimes talk to quantitative researchers about their work as an editor and how it influences them as a writer and as a reviewer of themselves. And so is it any different from the point of view of your qualitative experiences, editorial experiences? How has that impacted you? What did you see? And do you have suggestions or recommendations based on common shortcomings that you saw in the papers that you handled?
Yeah, well, I think I started, of course, everybody starts out as an author. And in that process, I found a need to do a lot of explaining in detail of the methods I was using, trying to answer questions of reviewers. And those reviewers were often quantitatively trained. And I think in some cases that's still true. But, I recognize the importance of being precise and having structure to what I'm doing, while also trying to be true to the people I was representing in the account, the informants. And so I learned the value of peer review and also making something that's very implicit in some cases explicit. And so I learned that just going through the review process myself. When I became a qualitative associate editor at AMJ, I had the opportunity to read hundreds of qualitative papers. And it really showed me the breadth of this field and how there are many different ways of approaching a qualitative project. but I also got to see firsthand that shaping process. I'd been a consumer of AMJ articles for years, and you see this kind of finished project, product that looks perfect in AMJ, but there are a lot of things that go on to get it to that point. They start out pretty rough and they get more refined. So I think one of the pieces of advice I'd give is to not be discouraged if your submission doesn't look necessarily like a published piece. There are a lot of people who help with that process and get it there. And so I began to appreciate all the work and care that goes into the review process, working directly with reviewers. And I think they really do care about helping authors. And it honestly made me proud to be part of the profession. So, I think mostly what I gained from being an editor was an appreciation for the shaping process, as well as recognition that there are people who want to help you get through the process and make the project better, make the product better.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned if I can add another question in response, you mentioned being sort of a trailblazer in terms of qualitative dissertation. And, I've been around, particularly active in the methods division for a long time. And it sort of seems to me that sort of early on, there was a lot more conflict and tension between the quantitative side and the qualitative side, sort of talking past each other, not appreciating and respecting the value the different perspectives can have and bring to the research process. Did you see that same kind of have that same kind of experience early on? And do you think it's changed and gotten any better?
Yeah, when I came to the University of Cincinnati, I think only 8% of what was published in AMJ was qualitative. And so it was kind of an uphill battle describing why what I thought, what I was doing was considered research. I had a very supportive department head, but there was a tougher road to hoe because people weren't familiar with things like rigor and how you build it into qualitative research. They didn't know how to review or evaluate qualitative research, and that's gotten much better. In the past several years, I think AMJ is now up to 20% qualitative, and the review team has expanded. So there are a lot more people who understand, how to review qualitative work. So I think it's easier than it was. I would say, when I was an editor, every single team that I put on a qualitative paper had at least one and often three people who were versed in the method. And that wouldn't have happened in 2001 when I came to UC. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's we need good science, and all perspectives have something to contribute to that.
Yeah.
With CARMA, although my background is quantitative, from the beginning, we've had a commitment to the qualitative approach, and that's reflected in the short courses that we offer, our live online short courses. And we've made a big push to expand the offerings related to qualitative topics. We're very excited. At this Friday's webcast, we'll announce our schedule for May in Europe, where half of our courses are qualitative, and for June for the Americas, where 9 of our 27 are. We're just so excited to have you as one of our short course instructors. You've done it a few times for us. You get rave reviews. Can you give people kind of a preview of what you do in your short course?
Sure. Yeah, so the title of my short course is Doing Grounded Theory Research, and that's deliberate because I really do want people to come away feeling like they can do grounded theory research and comfortable that they can design a study and complete a paper using the methods that we learn. So it's a very applied course. Participants will actually engage in coming up with research questions, developing an interview protocol, analyzing data using grounded theory methods, and then representing their findings in a grounded theory model. So it's very hands-on, and you'll be actually doing grounded theory research. It's not just me talking. Also, there's no experience needed for this short course, so I welcome people who are doing research in this area using this method, but also those who have no experience, but a desire to learn. And so I provide a data set, so you don't need to come with a data set. but I also encourage people who are doing work to share their work. And if they want to share their data and process, they're most welcome to. But it's really a how-to course and how to get through this process from, from start to finish.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's we're very excited to have it in our set of offerings, and just honored to have you willing to take your time to do it. Also, folks should know that Elaine is giving the webcast that I mentioned in a couple of weeks. This is part of our webcast lecture series. We do 10 lectures, live lectures a year that go into our video library. The live lectures and the recordings are available along with other benefits to our institutional members. And so I'm always excited during the year to include a couple of lectures on a qualitative topic. Elaine, can you give us a preview of your webcast lecture in a couple of weeks?
Sure. Yeah, the webcast will focus more specifically on rigor and trustworthiness in qualitative research. And so, I think we have a common understanding that rigor is necessary in research. That's just kind of like a well-known thing. But I think what's less clear is how to do it, especially with qualitative research. So we often hear the word trustworthiness used, and it really just means that readers and reviewers can trust your findings and the contributions that you're making in the paper, and see your work as plausible and credible. And so I'll be talking about how to build trustworthiness into your work throughout the process, from the beginning with research questions, to selecting a site, to analyzing the data, and to writing up the results and responding to reviewers. So trustworthiness is just not something that you add on at the end of a project. It's something that's built into the project as you go. And so I'll share some tools and tactics that I've used in my work, but I'll also use some exemplars and show you other people who have used those tactics quite effectively. And again, the webcast is targeted toward anyone interested in qualitative research. I think if you write qualitative research, or if you evaluate or review qualitative manuscripts, I think you'll find value in the webcast.
Well, that's great, Elaine. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat this morning. And again, the webcast coming up on February the 4th. Information about is the webcast, the short course, and all that we do at CARMA is available on the CARMA webcast, on the CARMA website. So thanks again, Elaine. Enjoy the rest of your day, and stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry.